Just See Through TV. And in this episode, we're going to talk about how to be happy. I think one of the really funny things about happiness is that we all really want it, but we're not exactly sure how to get it, and we don't really talk about it that much. And I think we have a lot of videos on, how to get the bigger homes, the nicer cars, more money, and not that those are bad things, those are important too, and I think it's okay to want to know how to get those, but I think that this is a good question, right? Is how do we be happy? Of everything that I've seen in my life, I believe there are really two main secrets of how to be happy. Let me just grab my drawing board and I'll explain. The first key to happiness is that happiness cannot be contingent on circumstance. Have you ever had that feeling where you say to yourself, okay, once I get this amount of money, I'm gonna start really living, or once I get this girlfriend or boyfriend, or once I get this new job, or once I start this new company, or once I lose those 10 pounds, then I'm really gonna start living my life is gonna begin, and I'm gonna start being happy. And you're kind of like working up to that point where your life is gonna start, or you retire and then your life is gonna start. It's kind of the funniest thing, but we do this, right? And what's really so strange about this is that we either get to that thing that we said our life is gonna start at that time, and then we have to create a new thing, or we never get there and we get frustrated and we create other things that maybe we get to or maybe not. But the point is that we can kind of always seem to find something that once we get there, our life will start, we'll begin living, we'll start being happy, and it has a very strange way of never really happening. And so that happened enough times in my life where I kind of came to this realization of, okay, happiness cannot be contingent on circumstance. So let me just give you an example. A lot of the things that I've been through in my life are health related. Health adversity is very, very, very extreme. And so for a long time I thought, okay, once I'm healthy, then I'll really start living. And I finally got to the point where I was healthy, thank God. But then there was something else. Once so let's say that this is my health, the little health cross that they do. But then, maybe it became money, or maybe it became where I was living, or maybe it became romance, or maybe it became, a number of different things. But there was always something where it's like, well, I'll start living. And the health one, it really made a lot of sense, right? Because it's very difficult to find extreme happiness and fulfillment when you're in agony, when you're living in a nightmare and this terrible thing. But the funniest thing was that it had a way of continuing. It just went on in this cycle. Finally, at some point, I kind of stopped and I was like, wait a minute. I said when I got this, I was going to be happy and start living. And that didn't happen the way I intended. And I said this, and then I got that, and it didn't happen the way I intended. And I said this, and got that, it didn't happen the way I intended. So I was like, wait a minute. How much longer am I going to do this before I'm just happy? This could go on forever, right? And there can be a bunch of other things. And so I finally came to this realization of that happiness cannot be contingent on circumstance, meaning it can't matter what we have or don't have. We can't say, I'll be happy when I get this or that, when our body is the way we want, or our money is the way we want, or our career, or what, there's always things that we could change or we would switch. That's like that new thing we're reaching for, that is our new, I'll start living and I'll be happy when this happens. And so when I came to this realization, it was very powerful because, the bad news is that you can't purchase happiness with things, right? So that's not going to get us. But the good news is that it's actually possible right now, that we can be happy now, and that we don't have to wait to start living for 5 years from now. The only time we can ever start living and be happy is when it's not contingent on anything else. And so once I X'd out all of these things, and I kind of was just like, oh, I can just be happy now, and that's the only way I can be happy, not about anything else, but only right now. That was very, very powerful for me, and it really took so much off my shoulders of, okay, well, now I can just be happy now. It was really pretty incredible. So secret number one, Happiness is not contingent on circumstance. Let's get this out of the way. And so now we've learned that happiness cannot be contingent on circumstance, right? On anything around us, that it has to just be we're happy now. So I think that kind of begs the question of, okay, so how do we be happy now? And that comes to the secret number 2 of how to be happy, which is that happiness is only found in the moment. And since that sounds too simple, because I think most people are like, okay, well, how do you be in the moment? How do you experience the moment where you're so happy? I don't get it. And society is so fast paced that I think a lot of people may not really know what it feels like to be in the moment. So to demonstrate this point, I actually created an exercise. It's a mindfulness exercise, but kind of my own spin on it. And it's called Gone in 30 Seconds. So to explain how this works, I want to first say that I think it's very hard for us to be in the moment and be happy because our life was free. It was just given to us, and everybody is given a life, and we see our lives as very long and made up of maybe an infinite number of moments, and we've got a zillion things that are on our mind distracting us. So with all of the fast pace and all of the years that we might have to live and all of the moments that make up those years, how is it that we can really be so much focused and grateful and experiencing of this moment? Like, how can we see that as so special? It doesn't really seem, I think, special for a lot of people. And so this is how this works, my exercise called Gone in 30 Seconds. So what I want you to do is, and you can do this with me here, and then you can try this on your own later, but I want you to start with what you hear. And so you can do this exercise with me. We're gonna do just the very fast version, just so you can get a sense of how it works. But I want you to imagine that 30 seconds from now, you will never hear anything again. I want you to imagine that that will be it, that your sense of hearing will be gone. And I want you to see what you would notice in those 30 seconds, only that you're hearing. And I won't go through the whole thing with you now, but I just want to do this quickly so you see, is that what is going to happen is that in those 30 seconds, it's going to start to become very, very sharp and focused. And you're going to start to hear so much stuff that you maybe never even heard before. And you'll be very, very surprised at how intense it becomes. And then I want you to shut that off within 30 seconds and then do with your eyesight. Say, okay, if I was never going to see anything again in 30 seconds, I would lose my sense of sight. What is it that I would be seeing right now? And you'll begin to look around and you'll start to see so much detail and so many interesting and beautiful little moments that you weren't seeing before. And they were there before, but you just weren't really noticing them. And then you can do the same thing with your touch and with your smell and with taste. So after all this is done and you've gone through this exercise, what you're gonna wanna do is take a final 30 seconds to put all of it together. So hear, sight, everything, and you'll feel that it almost all comes in together like music or like an orchestra or something. It's really, really cool. And you'll feel such an intensity and such kind of an intimacy and a grounded feeling in the moment that you're in. And that's what the moment feels like. And that's what happiness actually really feels like. And I've found that this is really the only place that we can be happy, right? I mean, we can be obsessing about the past and the things that we did wrong and the ways that we fell short, or we could be thinking about the future and how are we gonna make this happen? How are we gonna get this next thing we want? Oh my gosh, how are we gonna overcome this obstacle that seems so overwhelming? And we've got 10 different social media platforms, plus our email, plus text message, plus phone calls. And it's very overwhelming, right? I mean, it's kind of very difficult in our modern times to be in the moment like that. But I found that this exercise will really, really focus you in, and it'll really be an incredible feeling. I mean, you may have not felt something like this before, of all of your senses so heightened that you're so much in the moment, and that's what the real moment feels like. And then realizing that you can feel that each day or many times a day or many hours a day and really, really feel connected, and you'll feel this sense of peace and happiness of, okay, this is really what this is supposed to feel like. Okay guys, so just to recap, we have the 2 secrets for happiness. The first is that happiness cannot be contingent on circumstance. Remember, all of these things around us whether it's money or homes or cars or romance or family things or social life things or creating a business or making more sales or whatever it is. It can't be contingent on any of that, because we're just going to get there and it's going to be something else. And so it has to be now. We have to start living now. Now is it. This is our life. This is it right now. And so first part to happiness, not contingent on circumstance. Second part to happiness is that it can only be found in the moment, not stuck in our head in the past, not stuck in our head in the future. And we learned this gone in 30 seconds, that what would each sense feel, sense by sense by sense, if we were gonna lose it, if in 30 seconds it would be gone and we would never experience that thing again. And that can really kind of bring us into the moment so that we can feel, wow, this is what it feels like to be happy. This is what it feels like to be living my life now. This is the secret to happiness. And guys, the good news about this is that you can actually be happy now. You can have happiness now. You don't have to wait 20 years till you retire and then you can be happy, or you don't have to wait until you marry a supermodel and then you be happy. This is really something you can have now. And plus, once you do that thing, it's going to be something else. So allow yourself to be happy now. Focus on learning how to bring yourself into the moment with the exercise we talked about. And I really think that you can actually experience way, way more happiness really starting right now. Guys, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. It's a pleasure to be with you guys as always. Guys, if you are new here or if you haven't already, please subscribe, because that really helps me to know how I'm doing with the content, how I'm doing with putting everything together, how much value that I'm adding, and I can kind of keep adjusting on the response that I see from you guys and how to keep getting better and keep adding more value for you. So thank you so much for being part of this with me. I will see you guys in the next episode, and I will talk to you guys very soon. Lots of love. Peace.